Welcome everyone to another episode of Tips from My Garage. My name is Lisiate Tonga. I'm a recovering addict, father of two boys, husband to a beautiful wife, owner of online business Upgrade Version U.0, and author of ebook Q&A Between Two Addicts. And today I want to talk to you all about birds of a feather. When I'm talking about birds of a feather, I'm referring to your friends, your networks, your peoples, your circle of influence, the people that you're surrounded by. You you don't see too much in nature where birds are flocking together with other types of birds. You see that everyone pretty much stays to their own kind, and so it is with humans as well. We like people that are like us. We tend to spend most of our time, most of our days, most of our lives with people that we have a lot in common with and that are similar to us, that have the same values and the same morals, even the same lifestyles. And it just is, it just makes things easier when you have things in common because you have the same direction, you have the same goals and aspirations. And so there is a saying, an old adage that says that you are the sum of the five people who are closest to you. And so basically what that means is you are the sum of the five people that you spend the most time with. So for example, if you hang around with four alcoholics, then you're going to be the fifth. If you hang around with four drug addicts, you're going to be the fifth. On the other hand, if you're hanging out with four gym junkies, chances are you're going to be the fifth. If you're hanging out with four rich people, you'll be the fifth. If you're spending most of your time around four broke people, then chances are you're going to be the fifth. The people that you hang around have a significant influence on you, on the person that you are, on your habits, your lifestyle, your life, and most importantly, the direction that you're going in. And so that can be either for good or for bad. If the five most important people in your life that you're spending the most time with are good people, then chances are you're going to be a good person. And the opposite is also going to be true. One step or stage that you have to go through on your recovery journey is taking an inventory of the people that are in your life. And the reason why it's important for you to take an inventory of who is in your life is because you need to know who's influencing you, for one. But more importantly, you want to know how they're influencing you. You want to know whether they're influencing you for good or if they're influencing you for the worse. And so now is as good as time as any for you if you are considering going down a recovery journey, or if you're on a recovery journey and are contemplating the people in your life. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a a task to do, an exercise, a worksheet that you can utilize to help you to take this inventory so you can take account of the people that are in your life. And I'm going to take this from my blogspot. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of an insight into how I get the content that I'm talking about, and it does have a lot to do with my journey and the things that I've gone through and my business and my program. But all of this started because I started putting out content way back. I'd say around 2019, I started putting out content on a weekly basis. And I I did a video a week for 2 years, for over 2 years, where I was just talking about things related to personal development, related to addiction recovery, and my story, and the things that I'd learned along the journey, and also the things that I learned after the fact, and the information that I was gathering when I was starting my business and things like that. And so when I put out this content, what I did was I I wrote the script down of what I wanted to talk about. And then what I would do is I would memorize the script, and then I would shoot the video. And that's how I did my videos. And that really did become pretty labor intensive, because finding a subject to talk about and then writing the script for it and then shooting a video, and then memorizing it first and then shooting the video, it got really tough to do. And so I got creative and I made up my own cheat code. And what I did was I recorded myself saying the script on my voice recorder, and then I put it onto my computer. And then what I did was I plugged in my headphones into my computer so I could play it back. And as I was playing back, I turned on my camera, and then recorded myself just playing it back or saying it out loud. So it was running from my computer to my headphones. Once it was set in my headphone, I would say it out loud, and my phone was recording it. So it really just sounded like me saying my thing or doing my content, but really it was a script that I'd written. I'd recorded it on a voice recorder, put it onto my computer, played it from my computer into my headphones, and then recorded it on my phone. And so that was a huge, well, it wasn't a huge thing, I guess. It was just the thing. It was just how I got around having to memorize the script, because memorizing, I felt, was the hardest part after I wrote the script. And the reason I wrote the content was because I really didn't want to make any mistake about the words that I was using. I wanted to make sure that what I was saying was effective, and that I wasn't just rambling on, which is ironically what I do a lot now on a podcast, which is really different. But this way, I'm able to be a bit more of myself and a bit more natural when I'm on a podcast, when I'm talking, and I can elaborate more on the points that I was making. And so a lot of the content that I do for my podcast comes from the content that I have on my blogspot, which came from the content that I was doing when I was making my videos. So what I did is I wrote the content, I recorded the video, but then my sister, and this is a shout out to my sister Leah Hansen for all the work she did on my blogspot, and it's called All Things Are Possible, and I'll link it in the podcast, and also to my other socials, so that you guys can have access to it. But she spent a lot of time. So what I did is I sent her the script as well, and what she did is she put it into a blog form where it was a lot more entertaining. So if people wanted to consume my content through reading it and through just the funny gifs and videos that accompany the content, they could do it that way, or they could watch my video. So I just tried to repurpose my content in different ways so people had access to it in different forms to consume it however they wanted it to. And I love my sister. Thank you so much for making this blog spot, and I just wish it had more eyes on it, because I feel like, you know it's really great content. I guess that's me being biased, because it is my own content, but there's no stuttering, there's no hesitation. It's just verbatim. And when at the time when I was writing these scripts, I was very thoughtful about the words that I wanted to use, and I tried to choose the words as carefully as possible so I could deliver the message as impactful as possible in the most effective way possible. And And it was really the best that I could do at the time. But now today in my podcast, I'm able to repurpose that content once again into a podcast form. And all I'm doing is taking the content that I had written, that I had shot in the 2019, 2019 and 2020 and 21, and I'm able just to take each of the subjects that I did a piece of content on and just elaborate on it. And a lot of that is structured in a methodical way, because I had done them in stages, so that people that would consume it could do it in one stage after the next in a sequential order, so they could go, okay, they could watch the first video and go, okay, that's the first stage of recovery, what's the next stage, and then they could go just to the next video and know that that was the second one. And then so there were different stages, and then after that it kind of just blew up, and it kind of just went into many different directions, but all of it was linked to personal development, to my struggle in my journey, to the steps of the recovery program. And now I'm here on a podcast, 5 years later, and I'm repurposing the content once again, but hopefully it's able to be I'm able to elaborate more on the subjects that I was talking about, because the videos that I made were like 2 to 3 minutes, and now I'm able to take the subject of, or the topic of that content, and then just elaborate that over 20 to 30 minutes or 40 minutes in a podcast form, so that it gives it more context, so that I was able to say more on that particular subject, and go into depth more on it, so that people could get more information on that particular topic that I was focusing on. And so there you have it. That's how I get a lot of my content that I'm doing currently in the moment. Now, I don't just do content on that. I have gone away from that and done content on other things as well. But that is where the bulk of what I want to talk about comes from. And it's still relevant today, because it's exactly what I did, and it's exactly what people need to hear who are going through the struggle. And so today is all about birds of a feather, and I want to take this strategy that I'm about to share with you directly from my blogspot. And so this basically is how to take inventory of the people who are in your life. And so if you have a pen and paper, if you want to write this down, or what you can do is just rewind this over and over again, so that you can get it down pat. But what you have to do, and it's a fairly straightforward process, is you just get a pen and a paper, and you make two columns, and you make a column for A, which is for good, which is the good people, and then you can do it for B, which is for the worst, or for negative people. And in the for good column list, what you want to do is you want to list all the people in your life that have the following characteristics. A, they want the best for you. B, they show genuine concern by asking how you are and what you're doing. C, speak to you empathetically about your struggles. D, offer solutions, time, and resources to help you with your problems. And E, they always want to be in your corner. And in the for worse column, you want to list all the people in your life that A, have their own best interests at heart. B, they appear that they care for you, but have their own agendas. C, they don't mind dragging you down in the process of getting what they want. D, they are only interested in living for the moment with no thought to consequence. And E, they're constantly take from you in every way. This is the list that you need to create for good and for worse, and the characteristics of both. You need to consider all the people in your life and put them onto this list, And you could call it a pros and cons list, a good and bad list, whatever you want to do. But this is what you want to identify. And one of the most important things that you need to remember when you're making this list is this: you must set your emotions aside and look at this purely from a logical perspective, looking purely at the facts. So when you have your emotions involved, your emotions can get in the way of you making a solid list, a factual list, because of the empathy that you might feel for some of the people that might go on the list. Because there's some people that are in your life right now that are very close to you. Could be your best friend, could or could be a family member. And the thought of just trying to put a family member on this list, or your best friend on this list, or so-called best friend on this list, is just, it's just too heartbreaking for you to do. It's difficult to do that because you it creates heartache. You don't want to part from them. You love them. You don't want them to leave your life. You've been through so much together. There's so many things that you can say to yourself to justify why they should be in your life. And that's what happens when you get highly emotional about these things. And so it's important for you to set your emotions aside and just do this from a purely factual standpoint. Just the pros and cons, all the facts of each individual that's in your life, and then create that list. And this is the best way for you to get an accurate account of who needs to stay in your life and who needs to be moved on. And I know that this is difficult. I know that this is hard. So it may be necessary for you to bring in somebody else to help you, someone that's qualified to help you to create this list. And not just to create this list, but also to help you throughout your journey, and giving you support when it comes down to implement these strategies. It may be necessary for you to bring somebody else in that's going to be able to help you sit down and create this list without any emotion involved, because perhaps you may not be able to do that. You might not be able to do this on your own because you don't trust your own instincts, especially at this stage, because of the feelings that it creates, the emotion that it is creating inside of you, the potential heartbreak that you might be looking forward to, or that potentially might happen if you implement this strategy. So you might need somebody to hold your hand in this process, somebody that would be on your good list, or somebody that is qualified, that wants that could be a therapist, a counselor, somebody that is in your corner, wants your best interests at heart, that can help you look at this list or look at the people in your life objectively without emotion, so that they can look at the pros and cons for each individual person and then be able to list them accordingly and appropriately, so that you have a solid list. Because all it takes is one person that doesn't belong to stay in your life for for that whole thing to be sabotaged. Because it doesn't take multiple people. It could only take one person to be in your life to keep you where you're at. If you need somebody to help you to do this, that would be the best way to do it. If you get this list right, then it's going to be the game changer that you need to move on, to change the trajectory of your life. And so, you know, helping out with the list is one thing, but helping you out through your journey when it comes time to implement that is another thing as well. And I would say that you need support on that end as well when it comes time to making that separation between you and the people that don't belong in your life. You'll need support for that. It's better to have support. It's better to have people that are in your corner, a support network that you're gonna be surrounded by, that's gonna help to lift you up during that time, than to try and do this on your own. Because if you try to go this on your own, and then you get rid of people in your life, and then all of a sudden you're lonely and you feel bad and you yearn to have those people back in your life, and guess where you're at? You're back at square one again. And so, for me, it was really difficult. This particular stage was the hardest part of my journey because of how many people that I had in my life that I didn't want to let go of. There were so many people that I loved, so many people that I didn't want, that I thought, these people have to be in my life no matter what. And so what I did is I tried to go on my recovery journey, but I had one foot in this world and I had another foot in this world, and I was really kind of just being split in half, just like going along this journey, being tousled from one side to the next side and not really getting anywhere. And so this part of my journey took such a long time because, first of all, I didn't have support. I didn't have people to be able to 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 hold me down, to be able to lift me up, to support me during this particular stage. And so that's why it took so long, because there were so many moments of loneliness where I felt I can't leave these people, or I want to be around them, and so I need to be around them. And then so there was this constant back and forth and back and forth, which really just was me going around in circles. And it took a very long time for me to break from those toxic relationships and then just move on with my life. But it doesn't really have to be like that for you. You don't have to go on this journey on your own. You can have support. You can have people to hold you down, to bear you up. The journey is going to be much easier for you to go about it that way than it is to go it on your own. Go it on your own is very difficult. And I guess I would want to just finish this off by saying that, finish this by giving you both a warning and a message of hope. And the warning is that if you don't get rid of these people in your life that don't belong in your life, then you are destined for mediocrity at best. But the worst case scenario is that you lose the quality of life, and you lose your life in the process. And losing your life, it can be taken in different ways, but I'm talking, you can both lose your life physically, like die, but you can also lose your life in that you do not become the person that you were meant to be. You do not realize your potential. You just existing. And if you're just existing, then you've lost your life. You're not really living. You're not really living for anything. You're really just taking up space and just existing. Because you're neither here and you're neither there. You're not making a positive impact on this world, or on your life, or on others. And that's existing. That's not living with purpose. And you're not really living life if you're not living with purpose and meaning. And so you might as well have lost your life in that sense. So that's the warning: is if you keep those people that don't belong in your life, you are you are bound for mediocrity. You you sell yourself short. You don't get to live to your fullest potential, and that's a sad thing, to live without realizing what you could really truly become in this world. And then, next minute you're on your deathbed looking back at your life. I mean, is it going to be something you'll look back at and just say, hey, I've lived the best life that I've ever lived, I did the best that I could? Or is it going to be something else? Is it going to be regret? And maybe not. Maybe is it going to be regret just for you, or is it going to be regret for other people as well? People that are close to you, people that you love. And so, the message of hope, on the other hand, is that if you can remove these people from your life that don't belong in your life, what I can guarantee you is that your life will get better. But more importantly, you're going to be able to make room for people to come into your life that should be in your life and that are going to be good for you, that will become a part of your a solid foundation that's going to lift you, that's going to help you, to support you to become the person that you should be, that you want to be, to help you live your life with purpose and with meaning. So when you remove the people who don't belong in your life, you will add to your life the people who should be in your life, that are going to build you up. And that's the message of hope, because if you have people in your life that are going to build you up, then your life only gets better. It doesn't get worse, it gets better. And that's the hope, is that your life gets better, and the relationships that you have in your life become healthy and constructive, and and nothing but good things can come from that. And I just want to close with this one thing that I wrote, the last part of this blog spot, Birds of a Feather. And what I said was, I know how important it is to feel like you belong and the need to be accepted by your peers, but the truth is, those who are sucking the life from you only have you in their life to fill their own selfish needs and desires. They're not your real friends and don't genuinely care about you. Once they're out of your life, it will get better, and you will have more room to fill with good people who are there for the right reasons. And I think that pretty much sums it up. So I hope this was helpful and informative. And if you have any questions, let me know. I'll link the blog spot to this podcast so that you guys can have access to it and all the other content that I have there. And yeah, I'll see you on the next one.